Hi everyone, you're watching Good for the Game TV. I'm Brent Graham, and time to look ahead to the third week of November Internationals. We've just come off a very busy week of rugby, some very tight games there indeed, some of them very hard to call from a betting angle, and certainly if you were a total points backer who tends to go overs, you probably had a pretty poor weekend. On a personal note, I never got that involved this weekend, as many of you will know who read the Good for the Game forum and my weekly blogs. I haven't been in the best of form, so I decided to lay off a little bit. Only really got involved in the England-New Zealand game where I was England on the plus and also went under 48.5 points when I saw that conditions were so poor. Got to say, and we'll touch on that game now, that it was incredible rugby given the conditions. I thought both teams were absolutely superb. I'm going to share my screen now. Let's quickly wrap up some of the action that we saw this weekend. Starting at the bottom there, Italy against Georgia, 28-17 to Italy. I didn't watch this game, but there was plenty of handicap movement here. I think Italy started around 16-point favourites when the betting opened, but by the time the game kicked off, I think that was into single digits. In the end, well, you could probably have caught yourself a middle there. Italy getting a 28-17 victory. Scotland up against Fiji. This handicap was Scotland minus 16.5, and Scotland, very impressive performance, drawing clear to beat Fiji comfortably and deliver for any minus handicap backers there. England against New Zealand, without doubt the game of the weekend. What an absolute cracker. England racing into an early lead, New Zealand fighting back as only they can, perhaps, to win the game by a single point. There was, of course, drama and controversy near the end when the South African TMO stepped in and effectively cancelled England's try, which came from a charge down. Plenty of controversy around that. I'd have to say probably got the call right, in my opinion. But I've had enough of these TMOs. I really don't understand why that move was any more important than any other charge down, for example, during the game. I mean, let's just look at the scenario. If that charge down had ended in a held-up call over the line for England, England would have got a scrum, perhaps gone on to score, and that offsides would have meant nothing. So just the fact that it resulted in a try meant they looked at it from all angles and with such scrutiny, and I've just had enough. I think the TMO should be reserved for foul play and also perhaps for grounding, but I'm really tired of this intervention from the TMOs. Back to the game, though, it was an absolute belter of a game in poor conditions, and I thought both teams were superb. New Zealand, of course, started at 12.5-point favourites here. There was quite a lot of money for them as well, so I imagine the bookies quite enjoyed this result. They would certainly have liked it as well if England could have actually won the game. England showed that they are going to be a force in the World Cup. You got the feeling they weren't quite at the top of their game when they played South Africa. No doubt had one eye on this fixture. And New Zealand are under no doubt that while they are still the best team in the world, the other teams, in particular the Northern Hemisphere sides, are coming at them very quickly indeed. Wales up against Australia. I never got involved in this one other than a 500 Rand bet I lost to Oracle Rugby on the handicap show on Thursday night, where I thought Australia would score more than 20 points. The line was actually quoted at 22.5 points. So on the face of it, I didn't get a bad even money bet there. But this game didn't turn out anything like I expected from a points point of view. 9-6 without a try in the game. Bit of a dour affair. And I guess at the end of the day, the majority of punters that I know were on Wales. So quite happy with that result. They did start slight favourites over Australia. Ireland against Argentina. This handicap was 16.5 points for Ireland. They won by 11 in the end. I got the feeling, though, that Ireland were also looking at bigger fish that lay ahead, and that, of course, is New Zealand this weekend. France against South Africa. I dozed off in the first 10 minutes of this game. I woke up about 2:30 in the morning to see that South Africa had come from behind to win the game 29-26, a dramatic finish. Can't comment too much on the match because I've only watched the highlights, but certainly South Africa will take quite a lot from those last 3 or 4 minutes where they managed to fight back to win the game. The handicap did start in the region of 2.5, 3.5 points France favourite. So once again, a very tight game from a betting perspective. Let's move on to this week's fixtures, though. I have opened a thread on the Good for the Game forum. I'll share that with you now with my projected caps. And Italy v Australia is first. A tough one, this. Australia will obviously go in as favourites. I've said Italy plus 17.5 is my projected call. In fact, I'm just going to pop onto the Good for the Game thread and just confirm that. Yes, Italy plus 17.5 is my call there. Hard not to see an Australian win fairly comfortably. But Italy, well, we all know they've proven it against South Africa in the past that they are capable of causing upsets on their day. off then to the Principality Stadium for Wales against Tonga. This one I'm really guessing. I went Wales minus 22.5 on this game. But frankly, I have no idea what sort of team Wales are going to pick. If they pick a full-strength team, I'll probably handicap might well start in the 30s. But I am assuming that they're going to rest a few players. I also have very little idea as to what sort of form Tonga are in. England up against Japan. I've gone England minus 32.5 here. Also not sure what team England will select. And Japan, well, they went down by 38 points to what is effectively a New Zealand B side at home. But I've just got a feeling that this handicap won't be out of control. It'll be somewhere around the 32, maybe to 35 point mark. Scotland up against South Africa. Interesting one, this. Just have a double check. I think I went Scotland plus 6.5 here against South Africa. That's what I'm projecting, yes, the handicap to come out with. Scotland, oh, they're certainly well capable of beating South Africa. South Africa will have taken something from that French game. And I don't really have a view on this, but I reckon the handicap will be about 6.5. Ireland up against New Zealand. I went 7.5 points here. This is one game that I feel the bookies have priced up on, and you generally get Ireland plus 4.5, plus 5.5. So I may have given New Zealand too much of a start. Interestingly enough, my early thoughts here is that Ireland can win this game. I saw a bit of 17-10 available. Not sure if I'll be getting involved yet, but anyway, I made the cap 7.5, and I see it's around 4.5, 5.5. France up against Argentina. Interesting one, this as well. Argentina were very competitive against Ireland. They actually led for long periods of the first half. And I do think France will start favourites here. I've gone France minus 8.5. Let's just run very quickly through those on the Good for the Game forum. You can join us on the forum, Good for the Game. Just log on to goodforthegame.co.za, click on GFTG forum, and you can register if you want to comment. Otherwise, you can just view the threads, and we'll have lots of rugby punters sharing their views on this. I've gone Italy plus 17.5, Wales minus 22.5, a total guess that one. England minus 32.5, Scotland plus 6.5, Ireland plus 7.5, and France minus 8.5. So those are my handicap calls for this weekend. I'm really looking forward to what should be a very exciting weekend of rugby lying ahead. Remember, we've got our other YouTube shows coming up later this week. The handicap, which where we'll have at least 3 punters joining us to talk about all the weekends betting. That's at 9 o'clock on Thursday night. We've got GG Gaming on Mad at 8:30 on Thursday night. I'm not sure who the guest will be, but quite likely a past rugby player this weekend. One of our punters won 26,500 rands in free bets last weekend when he managed to project the first try scorer for New Zealand and also the first try scorer for England. How about that one? 26,500 in free bets. You do not want to miss that show live Thursday night at 8:30. Then the handicap at 9, and we'll have, I don't think we're going to have English Premier League this weekend because I don't believe there is English Premier League action. We are on international break. Anyway, have a good week. Look forward to seeing you hopefully in the Good for the Game forum. When the handicaps come out, we'll see how close mine are. And remember, you can subscribe to this channel to make sure you don't miss any of our videos.